Hey guys, this is Rainwolf, and we are back with 86 Season 2.
Hey guys, Kirito Silverheart here.
And Asuna Silverheart.
And Kirito.
That wasn't me. That was not me. Not me.
Normally it's you.
I was good. I made sure I muted all of my devices.
It's fine, I fixed it. Okay.
So, I will say, if we set a bowl in front of us, there's a little salt. It's some more salt.
I don't know what you're talking about. This has been my most anticipated season of an anime in quite some time.
So the first thing we get as this episode rolls in is just going down a track. You hear somebody talking over the radio. They were jammed out for a while. It's like it's going to be a rough fight. And then we get some transitions. We get a flash of the chair. Then we get an icon of an eye.
I love this opening because it takes us right back to the first episode opening of season 1 of coming down the train tracks. Then we see the Juggernaut, and it just brings back so many good vibes from season 1.
It was a really good, nostalgic moment there. It was nice.
Besides the image of the pig image that we got on the wall, then we get a new face and saying, "Yes, my queen." And it pops over to Lena. Such a beautiful opening.
Who, if you notice in this very quick glance, has this really nice streak of red in her hair now.
And it fits her very well.
It really does.
And then now we see her, we get the 86. She's walking down the street. We hear the typical nonsense in the streets as she's walking.
And that was a throwback, too, to the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving the mirroring that we're getting between this first episode and the first episode of the first season.
It's a recap without it being...
A recap.
Yeah. It's like, here's a little bit of what's going on here. I liked it. I thought it was really good. And nice little touches there.
And then we find out what her name is now. And also, if you notice, her uniform is different, but we'll go into more detail about that later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she goes back in, and it's still business or not business as usual at, the headquarters, because all the crappy generals and stuff are around talking smack, and they mention a couple different things that are important. One, she was demoted because of the 86, because where she pretty much let them go AWOL. So she was demoted. The other thing, they talk about what she's wearing. She's wearing all black. They also talk about she is now like the number one handler. So they talk about a couple of things that are very important right then. And then they go back to their unconcerned BS as normal. And I thought it was interesting. It was like, we're getting a feel that she is not taking crap anymore.
And she has her new nickname that fits with that. I'm not taking your crap.
Yeah, the Bloody Regina, the Bloody Queen.
They talk about it because of her team being one of the best teams.
And then we run into a good old friend.
Yeah. Not my choice words, but
I'm not really sure what their connection is right now.
Given the interaction in this scene, I would almost say strictly professional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would also I catch a couple glimpses of them still having some sort of personal relationship. It's more like kind of like when two best friends get into a major beef with each other. It's like, you're still my friend, even though I want to kick you in the face.
Yeah.
And I think they both feel that way. But at the same time, Annette also seems a little more...
They're experimenting with something.
Yeah, she seems a little more resigned to the fact of this is just how it is. And she's still talking to her about the para raid and hidden features, which we've seen some things in season 1 where, they had optical connection and things like that, but it really makes me wonder exactly what these additional features could be.
Yeah, it's a lot. Then we transition into the office where she's getting yelled at. Unauthorized use of the howitzers, unscheduled supply drops.
Don't make me do extra work for the sake of the damn 86. Okay, so...
Then she throws the salt right there.
Yes.
So first off, I was completely mistaken when watching this episode. For some reason, I was thinking this was Uncle Jerome again. I didn't quite pick up on the fact that it wasn't. This is a completely new commanding officer because of her demotion.
Yep.
And it's evident because if you pay even more attention than I did, there's actually a picture of this guy and Uncle Jerome in the background.
Yep.
I guess when he was receiving his commission or whatever. But yeah, she lays it right back into him. And I love
if you
how
gave me the
many
permission.
F's she doesn't give.
If you give me the permissions in advance, we wouldn't have this problem. You wouldn't have to do any of this. It's like, what?
She's not wrong.
It's like all of them, you're free to complain all you like, but now I've become your number one handler. Look at all those rewards.
Mm-hmm.
She F's that were given in this whole conversation.
There's none. There are none. She is done with the military. She is done with their bureaucratic BS. And this is a whole new girl that I'm just like, oh, you're awesome now.
The glance she gives him when they pop over to her face real quick is just connival.
And she still has a little bit of that like broken psychotic look to her too that we saw when she confronted Annette, you know, in near the end of season 1, when she's just like snapped. She just has that cold, dead, I could kill you without a thought look in her eye. And it's because she knows she is taking every brunt of the abuse and the retribution for her actions. But at the same time, she knows what she's doing is right, and she doesn't give an F anymore.
What throws it even more is that when she leaves the office and she starts walking down the hall, she still has that straight face of not giving a care. But then you see another soldier walk up to her, and then there's another one that follows in, and then eventually there's about 3 or 4. It's like, I'll let you. And they're all discussing about the supplies. They're finding out how many Halligers were actually effective. Come to find out, it's only 20%.
Oh yeah, she has her own regime forming. And I love it.
I love it, but it's also, that means things are going to get gritty in the city at some point.
There's a very good possibility for that. I see, but before before people figure out, or before, you know, they start, well, they already know. It's like we talked about it. The civilians pretty much know what's going on. They just like to live in the denial that it's not happening.
Well, technically, from what they state in the beginning of first season, that the only ones that truly know are high officers and leaders.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to think about it. Like, if it were a situation like us, like, I mean, normal people couldn't do anything about it, but like, if it were a situation like us, like, suddenly I had all these neighbors, and then suddenly all my neighbors are gone. That's a little sus.
Well. Yeah.
That's a little sus.
Does any of these 4 look familiar? Remember when she was in the classroom? I don't know if exactly these are any of these ones that
they were in the classroom when she were. Could be.
Anyone that was in that class technically knows the truth now.
Yeah, where she went and spilled. She was like, "This is going on. Here's what's wrong." Blah.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
I'm gonna have to go back to that episode and look at some of the faces and see if any of them match up.
Same here. And let's not ignore the fact that Uncle Jerome
is watching.
It does look down on her from the balcony, and he knows something's up. It's like he knows what she's doing, he knows the game she's playing, but he's just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
I feel like her father played a similar game. I don't think what happened to her father was an accident. Really don't think it was an accident. I think they intentionally sent him in there where they knew there was going to be fire and a lot more war and a lot more problems. They sent him in there with the intention for him to die. Yeah. And it could be just as dangerous for her. Because
he was the only Alba that actually still went on the field. So now we pop into the room. Lena's like, "I'm sorry I'm late." And she was like, "Actually, you're pretty early. Get started with your chat."
Yeah, so obviously they're still having their regular meetups. You know, which, I mean, granted, they even said, you know, "Hey, I'll be by in a couple hours." There's still that air of, you know, yeah, we're just kind of saving face at this point. You know, it's like we agree to disagree, and I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of interaction, it almost seems like. I don't necessarily know if Annette has been brought into that secret regime that the Bloody Queen has been trying to build up inside the military.
And I think their discussion they had today was probably about what she brought up this morning when she was first walking in, about the additional modifications and stuff like that.
Yeah, secret features of the para raid.
Mm-hmm. So after this conversation, it pops into Lena. She's in her room drinking a cup of coffee, and she's talking to who we know as Cyclops. But then we actually find out she actually knows all their names already.
Mm-hmm. And this is also when we find out that, once again, she has been demoted. She is no longer with Spearhead.
Nope.
She has taken over a completely different unit on a completely different front.
And they come to find out they are soon to be sent to Spearhead as well. So that means whoever originally took over for Shin and the gang are soon to be dead.
They're close to dead already. So the group that's left, that's disturbing and sad, but that's what that is. That's what Spearhead is for. That's what they use Spearhead for, is to kill those people. And I'm not surprised because, and the girl brings it up too. She talks about, one of the best handlers she'd ever knew, and he's probably dead by now. He went there, and she was talking about Shin. She was talking about the Reaper.
Yeah, she flat out calls it out and says Reaper. But can I just point out something that's kind of hilarious? One of the most that, like, the person that was in charge of Spearhead was Shin. The person that is in charge of this unit that Lena's with is Shinden. I caught that in the captions for it when they were showing Cyclops' real name.
That's funny.
So they're discussing a number of things about the Legion, their next plans for the upcoming, from what they scouted earlier. And then she keeps reminding her, Cyclops, don't forget your reports on patrol, and then disconnects. And then we see the image again of her pig, Princess. They told me to survive anyway. And we actually find out the cat's name that she gave it. And it was Tappy, I think it was. It was a weird name.
Teppy, I believe.
Teppy.
Yeah, Teppy. Teppy.
Yeah, and what I find interesting throughout this conversation is Lena calls it out. She was just like, my job is to prepare for the large-scale Legion offensive that I think is coming. There's no thinking about this. Lena knows that they are pushing and making the drive into the capital of San Magnolia. She knows it's inevitable. She knows it's only a matter of time. She is the only one that's actually doing a damn thing about it.
So we get the title card. They're sticking with the same style they did last time of transitioning between perspectives.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. I think it does a nice shift. It gets you a tone shift sometimes if you need to. Because sometimes things that are happening, and it was the same way, some things that are happening with Spearhead were a lot darker than what was happening with Lena. So it's always interesting when they do that shift. I think it's really smart direction move.
So now we are back to Shin. And come to find out, from the whole perspective, a number of us thought he was dead. Some of us thought he was alive. And some just didn't know. But in the perspective we got, was that it was pretty much his brother saying his final goodbyes. That me protecting you, being your knight, you've grown, and now it's your time.
Yeah, he's basically saying, this thing between you and me, it's done. He's like, don't forget me. Remember me occasionally, but don't hold on to me. Don't make me the reason you're miserable. He's like, go on and live your life and be free and be happy. He's like, just think about me once in a while.
It's so sad.
Then he wakes up, his eyes, and he's looking around. He doesn't really know where he's at. Then we see a dude in a weird suit.
Not the hazmat suits. And I like the one that comes in, and I don't know if you noticed this, but he was the one that he put his hand on the glass. And he was like he was the one that was interacting when he woke up. Like, he was excited.
Well,
so
they even say they've never had visitors ever since they've been formed.
Yeah, and it was the president. And we find out a couple really important things, that there are other nations that survived.
And the funny, weird thing is that the city they're in now technically is the Empire, but not the Empire.
It was
It's the Republic of Jihad.
Jihad.
Yeah, they
Confederacy of Jihad.
The Confederacy of the Federation of Jihad. That's it. The Federation of Jihad. They destroyed the actual empire,
created
that developed the Legion, and they have reformed into this federation.
And they've been fighting. And then he has a flashback, hurts himself getting up, worried about his friends, and then he makes points his thumb, and then one by one the gang shows up.
Yeah, I love how they basically have all these pods connected together through, I cannot remember the
opaque windows, or
Yeah, it was like a two-way mirror type window.
there's a name for them, but I can't think of it. But
I cannot think of it myself right now either. I'm thinking about the gaming table that actually has this feature where you can push a button and electrical current goes through it
yeah,
and changes the opacity.
yeah.
Cannot for the life of me think of that damn word right now.
As it's going, he introduces himself. He's the president of Jihad Confederacy. Then they jump over to the hall where pretty much, I'm guessing what we come to find out, his generals, I guess, are talking with him. Like, we should probably kill them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they have on them.
Yeah, they specifically say, well, they're not like spies from Santa Magnolia. They're not this, they're not that. They don't know where, they're like, we don't know. And they're like, termination is the best option.
Oh, they know all about San Magnolia. They know all about San Magnolia. The only thing they didn't have the particulars on were how the Juggernauts were operating, the level they were, and
Yes. Their
some of the finer details.
And also the tech.
They didn't know. Yeah, they didn't know
They
about
didn't know
the tech.
what the Pararaid was.
Uh-huh.
I think they have something similar to it. Like, it would almost be like a Bluetooth Wi-Fi type thing with us, but Pararaid was much more advanced because, it was always on them. So they didn't have that type of tech. I think their tech was a couple gens behind what San Magnolia has. And it's like Kirito said, they know about San Magnolia, but I don't think they don't know about the 86. So they or at least it's not been made public what San Magnolia has been doing to the 86. And they actually thought, well, honestly, they didn't. I think they thought there were no other nations, that they weren't sure if San Magnolia had made it. So, or how far they had progressed with it.
Now we jump back into the hospital room. Shin's about to be killed again.
I love the fact that the entire squad is just like, you have no idea how badly we want to beat your ass right now. The thing that got me was the fact that it was Snow Witch, who was just like, if you ever pull a stunt like that again, I will personally take your life into my hand.
Yeah, well, she was like, I'm gonna wait for you to get better, and then it's on.
The worst part
ass.
is like the facial expression she had when she made a fist. You could see the vein.
It was funny.
It was bad.
funny.
She really wanted to rip him a new one.
Don't mess with her.
So he's like, I didn't mean to die. It's like, and blah. It's like bull.
So after the threats, the apologies, and the camaraderie, we transition to them all in the same room together, and it's been a month. So we've already established a timeline here since they showed up in the Federation of Jihad. And the president comes walking in, he was just like, so yeah, you're all citizens now. Congratulations. And they're like, we haven't seen you in a month. And you walk in and say, yes.
It was, so my first assumption when the president did that is, I was like, and then you see them go into the car and they see the people, they also see the people out protesting, like Free the 86 and stuff like that. And he gives them this bill of children are our future, any place that uses children to fight wars or, is pathetic. And I was like, that's the play. I was like, he's using them to garner
Political
like
martyrs.
patriotic support for them. So that way they can get more people to join their military. They can get more people to, help with them, because now they think they have, not only do they have to fight these robots, they have to go out there and try to help the 86 too.
Well, and it looks like the civilian, they do know about the 86 from the way we
Well,
got
they do
but
now.
before-
They didn't before.
But
Well,
before
we
going
don't
into the
have
car, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we don't have a clear definition of how much they knew about San Magnolia in 86 up to this point. We don't have a definitive, clear idea.
He says it in the car. He says they found out that, San Magnolia made it. And then immediately after they find out about the 86. So everything that's happened has happened within this month. But yeah, I really felt like he was using them. At first, I thought he was using them for political power, that it was a power play. And also because they're skilled with these machines.
There's a whole bickering with the generals, like, no, they're going to be part of my unit. No, to see
Yeah.
where they were.
Yeah, it cuts over there, and it does. And, you have was it the spider lady is what he
The
called
beetle
it?
and the spider, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably one of my favorite scenes out of this whole thing, just because this leads up to what I already knew coming into season 2 from reading the graphic novel or the light novels. We got that teaser at the end of season 1 of that.
We also
black
get a slight flash
juggernaut.
of a couple units here as well.
Mhm. Yeah, we got that teaser, that black juggernaut at the end of season 1. Primarily at the very, very end of the recap wrap up that they did at the end of season 1. This is where we start to see that design model come into play. Because as they're discussing, these kids have lived the battlefield the majority of their life. High mobility combat data with the people to compare it against the actual combat experience and the data. They want to test them out in prototypes.
Yeah.
They want them to be operators for the prototypes. And they show these other juggernaut-looking machines called Vanagandar that apparently seem to be much slower, much bulkier than what we've seen the 86 use in the Juggernauts. Yeah. And I think this is a reference to the Beetle, because these have more of a Beetle, heavy duty style to them. They're not as light, agile, teched.
So they didn't really technically show us the units that they would probably end up using.
But I'm pretty sure we're going to see them soon.
Either in the next episode or the episode after.
Mm-hmm.
Something important that I think's brought up too, they talk about the 86. They want them to immediately take them into combat. They're like, oh, yep, they're ready. And the lady mentions, she's like, in their counseling sessions, they want to go back. And the president tells them that's all they know. That's why they want to go back. That's all they know. And he's not wrong, but they are very good at what they do. So it's only a matter, for me, it's a matter of when, not if. And we find out more about like the president and stuff here shortly and some things with him. But I thought it was very interesting. He didn't push quicker for them to go out and start training.
I think the reason for that was that, I don't know if he has this perspective or not, but for them
he
to
seems on the up and up,
run away where they came from to where they're at now, pretty much. Even though I'm not sure if any of this has been, we don't know what's been hiding behind the scenes or because you got to remember there's cameras in the rooms they've been in, so you don't know what he's heard or seen during their conversations.
Yeah.
Who knows if freedom came up in their conversations while they were sitting in the hospital recovering.
We don't know if the president or the Federation powers know that the 86 were a suicide squad, aside from the fact that they knew that the 86 were being sent out to command these units. We don't know if they know that squadrons such as Spearhead were around to eliminate the best of the best. This wasn't a special ops unit that was, just regularly reinforced when certain numbers depleted. No, this was a kill squad to the definition of we want them dead. We don't know if they know that.
Yeah. So when they enter the home, there's a little girl there, and she tries to be all ippity-bippity.
This was a character that I read about in the light novel that I could not wait to see in action on screen. Her energy, her sass, it is just, I love this girl.
It's kind of the light that they need, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they don't have Lena anymore.
I think this does an excellent job of showing post-traumatic stress and things like that. They're shell-shocked. They're traumatized. They're not sure how to process this. They don't know if they trust anyone. I think this is doing a beautiful job of showing that, and they want to go back to war. So right there, they're definitely having a lot of emotions and a lot of things that, people who actually have been to war have. And I think it does a beautiful job in showing that. And then she enters in and it does offer a light. It does kind of pick it up a little bit. And it is nice. And immediately Shin starts giving her shit. Like very much it was as I had a big brother, I know that's how they act and that's how they are. And it was nice.
And also the way the president, the way he reacted when she asked, "What's that on your neck?" He stops her right there. He was like, "Everyone has a past. You have wounds you don't want touched either." The conversation pretty much just ends it there. She gives a look, and then she's like, And then it's like, "I'm the cute little sister you've given to heal your wounds."
And I knew who she was.
So, and also she goes into like, "Teresa, they're being mean."
Specifically, Shin was being mean.
It's Shin.
And Teresa was like, "You had it coming."
Yeah, You brought this upon yourself.
And Teresa tells him, "I'm here to help you. I'm here to take care of you." And yeah, they're not really sure how to respond to it. They don't really know how to take it. The other funny thing is the president brings up, "You can call me Dad." And they're just like, they stare at him, like they stared through that poor man.
If there was any if beams started coming out, the president's
He'd
dead.
have been, yeah. It was pretty comical
So
when we saw it.
sharp.
They stared a hole through him. And I kind of felt bad. And he was like, because he was like, I was kidding, just a joke. And I don't think he was, but he could tell himself that.
Then again, I can't really truly read him yet because we have all these moments, but then also these moments of screen time when he's just by himself, and I'm like, what's going on here? What's this man up to?
Yeah, I'm still a little confused on what's going on with him too, and I was like, is this guy on the level? Like, is he on the level? But I guess we'll find out as we go, like how much on the level he is. But also, there's some stuff that's brought up too after the kids. He tells the kids to go on to bed.
Well, he doesn't tell them to go to bed. They decide to go to bed early.
They decide to go to bed, but he talks to Teresa first, and then Shin here in a moment. And Teresa, he asks her, thanks for taking care, and she's like, well, that's my job. And he asks if she thinks that he's using them as a replacement. So that tells you right there he's lost, obviously, most of his family, probably children, and there is a part of him that feels a soft spot for these kids. So hopefully he is not a jerk, and he's actually a good person. The other thing we find out is that the little girl, she's the Empress.
Yeah, that's all we get.
And that's all you get. And I thought that was an interesting little tidbit there. But when they said her name, her last name was Frederica, and he said, she's not my daughter, because at first they thought she was his daughter. She's not my daughter, she's just staying here for a while. So that was interesting too.
Then after this whole conversation, it goes to Shin. You see the scarf laying on a table or dresser in the room. Looking at it, you get a knock at the door. It's the president. Then he was like, oh, this was sitting in your unit. When you see Shin's eyes go wide, and then we eventually see what it was. It was the carved out piece from his brother's unit. And that's all I think this is going to be a lot more brutal than the last one.
It's so good. It's such a good series. It's just so emotionally draining, but I mean, it's excellent, and I highly recommend it to anyone who will watch it. Like, it's great. It is so emotional though. It's so sad, and I think it is going to be a lot more emotion. I'm curious of what they're going to do now. Like, where do they go from here? Not just the 86, but like the whole series as a general. Like, are they going to eventually meet? Are they going to be able, how are they going to adjust to their freedom? When are they going back on the battlefield? Because, like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Yep.
So, for them, at least, I think.
And then in the ending credits, we see glimpses of the new units. And we also see Dog, our little robot buddy that carried all the supplies.
Fido.
Fido. Yeah. I knew who it was. I was just sad.
Yeah, but you see Fido, but you see the little girl on top of him.
But, oh my god, the closing. The closing was beautiful. The closing was amazing. It was so their opening and closings are really good this series. Like, Kirito and I talked about it.
Kills me on that the ending is it's the very ending of the end screen, right before it goes to the title card, where you see Shin, the look of shock on his face, goes to Lena, she turns around, it's like she's saying a few words and it fades completely out. It's like, ooh, that's gonna be an interaction when that does happen. And the title card we get for next week, it's too late. I don't have enough details to really figure out this one.
Oh, yeah, it's the second seasoning. It's the second seasoning. It's the second season opening, and this series, you just don't know where it's going.
It's really hard to really tell where, because first season and the second season, they close it. There is a closing between stories. Even though it's still continuing, but there's enough of a closure to not really fully be able to tell what's about to happen.
And I like that about this. I like that a lot about this series. That it has that full close. It's like full stop, new thing coming. I really think that's probably one of the best things about this series. because it feels complete. Like, so when you finish the end of that season, you feel like you've actually accomplished something or you saw something. You didn't have to wait a whole season for just to get another cliffhanger for what's going to happen next season. It feels like a full stop. It gives a full story, and then you can go into the next story.
Mm-hmm. Even though there are those thread elements that carry over from arc to arc, you know, we do see that if, like we said at the beginning, at the end of season 1, if something happened and season 2 never happened, we would be perfectly okay with the story that we got.
Yeah.
And granted, there'd be a couple little plot elements here and there that, you know, we were like, whatever happened.
We'd be forced to go read.
Right, go read the book. But knowing that the series has been able to take, God, I can't even remember how many books there are, but they condensed the first, 2 or 3 books into the first season.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And yeah, they condensed all those plot lines into one cohesive arc for the first season, and now they're doing it again. I am really excited. I know where some of this is going. I haven't completely finished this arc for the actual reading of it. I do know some of the elements. I will not say I want to see how they are carried out in animation. This is going to be a hellfire of an arc. It's going to be amazing.
Any last thoughts before we close out for tonight? I will take that as a no. So remember, everyone, we are doing 2 episodes or 2 series during this fall lineup. We are doing Yashahime and also 86 on the end screen, vice versa. If you want to go check them out, they will be showing up there on their vice versa videos. Also, we are planning to cover Sword Art Online Progressive as well. We haven't worked out all our details fully 100% yet on how we're going to do it.
The last information we got for Progressive was that the U.S. release date in theaters is going to be early December. So it's just all going to, depend on scheduling and, which theaters actually get it and our availability to see it and get our hands on it.
And last bit of information, look forward to in the next week or 2 where me, Kirito, Unspoken Fur, and Grizzly Tyrant will be doing playthrough of Back for Blood.
Yeah, and you guys can check that out over on Convention Video's Twitch page at twitch.tv/conventionvideo.
We're also going to do it live here on YouTube.
Oh, simulcast. Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening, whichever you do. And until next time, I'm Rainwolf.
This is Kirito Silverheart.
This is Asuna Silverheart.
Remember to leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe. And if you're going to NECACon, can't wait to see you.
Bye.